Yuan is a worthless dog licker who can't afford underwear, but works 4 jobs to buy gifts for his girlfriend. However, his pathetic life takes a full 180 when his bank account is topped with 90 million won. Now that he's left Jeff Bezos in the dust, the man uses this money to boss all the women who have wronged him. Before his transition to the next Mr. Beast, Yuan is crying like a whiny in the middle of the night while holding his phone. His girlfriend had decided to break up with him, and Yuan is typing like a Tier 3 Twitch subscriber on Amaranth's stream. He thinks she's playing a game with him but goes into panic mode, explaining that he had planned a future together where they would have 2 children, a house, and a car. He then asks her if she's breaking up with him, because he didn't buy her the magic potion and promises to buy it for her, with his next month's expense. However, the poor guy gets pumped and dumped when the girl blocks him. His roommates aren't aware of the situation and ask him to join in on their gaming session. However, Yuan slams the desk and angrily leaves the room, making his roommates wonder if another girl realizes he's not worth the trouble. They'd also discuss how Yuan has hit breakup number 6 this month after his breakup with a girl he dated for 3 years, firmly securing his spot as the ultimate loser. The man must have been sleeping when God was distributing dignity, because he heads straight to that girl named Showdown, who has more than one reason to deserve the princess treatment. She asks him not to create a scene in public, but Yuan thinks she is angry with him and gives him her favorite gobo pork. He asks her never to mention breaking up again and promises to become the ultimate beta male simp she is looking for. Some ladies nearby notice this embarrassing scene and gossip about how Yuan worked 4 part-time jobs to afford gifts for Showdown, only to get dumped in the end. Showdown tells him that she is not angry with her and that she has to break up with him because her ex-boyfriend Wang wants to patch things up with her. Yuan is frustrated and reminds her that Wang pulled the ejaculate and evacuate card on her last time, and she had to eat the baby to avoid trouble. While Yuan is pleading, Wang arrives in his expensive car and asks Showdown to hop in so he can hop on her later. Without any hesitation, Showdown tells Yuan to never meet her again as Wang might misunderstand her. Yuan has no choice but to see the love of her life get rizzed up by someone else. After he dumps the gobo pork she got for her in the bin, Yuan heads to the supermarket and grabs a bottle of water. He starts questioning why he is always betrayed and wonders if he will become a dog licker for the rest of his life. However, he gets all fired up and convinces himself that being a dog licker is not a bad thing at all. Just then, he hears a ding-dong, and a notification pops up saying that the strongest dog-licking system has been detected in the host. After he gets the notification saying that the system binding was successful, Yuan gets another pop-up on the screen that shows him basic information about himself. His personal wealth is 230 Chinese coins, his strengthening points are 1, and the ring dog amount is 90 billion Chinese coins. Yuan doesn't know what this plug-in is used for and starts messing around with the screen that is only visible to him. However, he doesn't realize that a girl is standing right next to him, and from her perspective, Yuan is staring directly at her chug jugs. She calls Yuan a pervert and scolds him for eyeing her so hard, and the new system that was installed shows Yuan some basic info about her as well. This girl is Xu Lele, who is rated 7.9 on her appearance, and her favorability toward Yuan is -50. Yuan then learns that if her favorability towards him exceeds 95 points, the counterattack will be a success and her identity will be transformed into his licking dog. While Yuan is still grasping this new power, he gets another notification, which says that 90 billion dog-licking gold has been credited to his card. However, he can only use this money to rizz up more ladies. If Yuan is successful in making a girl his dog, 1/10 of the amount he would have spent on that girl would be transferred to his personal account. He can use that money however he wants, and there is a possibility of gaining additional rewards by completing this mission. Finally understanding the situation he is in, Yuan wastes no time in being an absolute degenerate and makes Xu Lele his first target. He asks her not to be mad at him and offers to pay for a meal. The relationship bond is deemed a success, and Yuan gets another pop-up telling him that he will get 5 strength points for completing this mission. These points can be used to enhance his various stats including fitness, mental strength, and agility. Xu Lele thinks Yuan is trying to woo her with his money and takes up the challenge to see who can rizz up who. Xu Lele is quite popular in the art department and is rumored to have made a man spend 30,000 won by uttering just 3 words. While the gossipers think Yuan is going to be in big trouble, the man is more than ready to finally lose his virginity. Yuan is quite confident and challenges Xu Lele head-on, prompting her to reveal that she came here to buy snacks for her whole class and Yuan will be the one to pay for them. She's already noticed how Yuan is dressed like a homeless New Yorker and has come up with this scheme to embarrass him. However, her plan fails when Yuan transfers 50,000 won to her account. Everyone in the supermarket is shocked to see that Yuan is a shower rather than a grower, especially when he asks Xu Lele to add him on WeChat. Xu Lele starts doubting her own judgment and wonders if Yuan is a hidden billionaire or something. Since Yuan's oozing confidence has impressed the lady, she adds him on the WeChat and invites him to someplace. She gets super closer to Yuan and most definitely makes him jizz his pants, but it is all a part of her plan to humiliate Yuan. Xu Lele takes him to a Gucci ripoff, but before they enter, she clarifies that she is not a gold digger and that she just wants to see Yuan's sincerity and attitude. Yuan already knows he's about to be on a wild ride with this psychopath, but puts on a polite front and offers to buy her anything she wants. Inside the shop, Yuan is looking at expensive bags when he hears a familiar voice nearby. Turns out Wang has brought Shutong's same store, and things are going to get spicy for them. It looks as if Yuan has seen a ghost, and Xu Lele immediately jumps on the wagon to tease him about his ex-girlfriend. She jokingly asks if she came here at the wrong time, but Yuan puts on his fake smile and brushes her off. She then asks the receptionists if they still have that bag from the spring sale, and learns that there is only one piece remaining. Turns out, Shutong is trying the bag out, and cannot believe Yuan moved on from her so quickly. She promises to expose him as the worthless loser that he is and tells Wang that her birthday is coming up soon. Wang remembers that she just celebrated one recently, but Shutong says that was based on the lunar calendar and this one is based on the solar one. Wang realizes she's trying to manipulate him into buying that bag and makes it very clear that he doesn't like girls who use him for money. His statement leaves Shutong really embarrassed, and Xu Lele wastes no time snatching the bag from her hand. She apologizes to Shutong and buys the bag for herself using Yuan's card. Xu Lele is so happy with her new bag that her favorability towards Yuan increases by 60 points, and Yuan is extremely excited because he is so close to getting that whack. He realizes that he would easily riz her up if she buys a few more bags, but he needs to spend a lot more before that or the amount of money he gets back from it will be way too small. Meanwhile, two employees gossip about how Wang didn't spend money on Shutong despite his rich appearance, while Yuan, who looks like he hasn't showered in ages, brought Xu Lele expensive bags. They discuss how they can never judge anyone by their appearance, as spending powers are not determined only by looks. Hearing their gossip infuriates Shutong, and as she stands there all embarrassed, Xu Lele stands there feeling all high and mighty. She comments how a bag is like a boyfriend, and it's always better to grab it. Upon realizing that she's caught a big fish, Xu Lele snuggles up to Yuan and starts calling him hubby. Shutong is moved to tears as she cannot face the humiliation any further and decides to leave the store. She bumps into Yuan on her way out and comments that he's gone way too far, but Yuan is acting like a sassy and says they still have a long way to go. Just then, the system activates the second dog-licking relationship with Shutong, who now has a negative 10 points of favorability towards Yuan. As she storms out of the store, Yuan gets a pop-up that reveals he will get 20 strength points if he manages to riz Shutong up. However, he still has to complete his mission with Xu Lele, who seductively asks him where they will go next. Yuan has an ugly smug on his face and decides to take Xu Lele shopping in more expensive places. She gets in luxury dresses and even more expensive bags, and Xu Lele is head over heels for Yuan at this point. However, Yuan doesn't stop there and proceeds to buy a lot of perfumes, makeup accessories, and even more clothes for her. With every new buy, Xu Lele's favorability goes up towards Yuan. However, Xu Lele is carrying so many bags at this point that she asks Yuan to stop. She says she cannot fit all of this stuff in a rental house, but Yuan is so unbothered at this point that he decides to buy her a house. However, Xu Lele is overwhelmed by all this spending and nervously asks him to stop. When Yuan notices that he's lost 5 riz points to her, he realizes that he's not Mr. Beast and that he would also be scared too if someone offered to buy him a house out of the blue. To make things right, Yuan gets close to Xu Lele and starts reciting everything he knows about her. Xu Lele is a junior at a fine arts college. Her age is 21. She's 165 centimeters tall. Her weight is 45 kilograms and her favorite color is black. Additionally, her favorite food is Korean. She's a Capricorn, her shoe size is 37, and she likes to watch horror movies at night. Yuan rizzes her up by saying he likes everything about her, and asks the manager to get her a member's card. He promises to fill it up with 500,000 won and asks the staff to give Xu Lele the royal treatment the next time she comes over. Yuan apologizes for scaring her and offers it as a gift to make amends. Xu Lele is so moved by this gesture that she might as well bend over for him. Yuan notices it and asks if she's ready to share bedtime stories, but Xu Lele gets shy and pushes him away. This causes her to gain 30 more favorability points towards Yuan, and it's only a matter of time before he gets to the R-rated portion of his life. The employees are impressed by how generous Yuan is despite his humble appearance, and not only that, but he's also very considerate of Yuan's feelings. However, Yuan knows that he was merely flirting, and the only reason he's not being sued for harassment is because rich people flirting is very different from poor people flirting. Xu Lele is moved as she bought so much for her and asks him to buy something for himself too. However, when Yuan says he has no money on him, Xu Lele thinks he's hinting at her to get him something. She realizes that she needs to give something back, that she wants to play the long game, and decides to buy him some stuff. She takes Yuan around the city to give him a makeover, and after getting new clothes and a nice haircut, Yuan comes out looking like he claps 10 Ariana Grande for breakfast. Xu Lele drops her panties upon seeing him in this state, and her favorability towards Yuan keeps. Yuan is a little shy and asks her if he looks okay because this is the first time he doesn't look like a Florida man. But at this point, Xu Lele wouldn't mind that either. She seductively tells him that he looks great and that the two of them actually look like a couple now. However, it's time for her to go home, and she thanks Yuan for becoming his new sugar daddy. She says she's super happy today, and there were several moments where she felt like she was in love. After she leaves, Yuan gets a pop-up about Xu Lele's favorability towards him, which has reached 68 points. As he returns home, dressed like a protagonist from a Wattpad story, his rooms are all shocked as they have never seen Yuan so well-dressed before. They ask what he has been up to all day, and Yuan tells them that he scored Xu Lele from the art class. The duo says Yuan could not handle Showdown, so why does he think he can pursue Xu Lele? The girl is the beauty of the art department and advise him not to look for women that are so out of his league. While they convince him to let Xu Lele go, Yuan doesn't pay much attention to them and is constantly looking at his phone. Turns out it is a message from Showdown, who's trying to play hard to get by asking Yuan to unfriend her. However, Yuan realizes she's only trying to mess with his emotions, and he needs to gain favorability with her so he can have 10% of the money from the dog-licking system. She asks him if he dislikes her, but Yuan tells her she's a special person in his heart. Showdown then mentions how the only reason she's dating Wang is because her mother is sick and needs 50,000 won for medical expenses. Without any hesitation, Yuan sends her the money, shocking both her and her roommate. The roommate assumes that this Mr. Beast clone is actually Showdown's boyfriend Wang, but Showdown tells her that Wang is so cheap he wouldn't even buy her a bag. She says it's Yuan, and the roommate immediately realizes that he is the same guy she dumped to be with Wang. She comments how this average guy is a hidden Jeff Bezos, making Showdown wonder if he's somehow misjudged Yuan's financial status. She also gains 5 favorability points towards him out of piqued curiosity. She wants to clarify how Yuan is getting so much money and asks him what he was doing at the mall today. She even questions if he's some kind of a hidden second-generation guy or something and keeps sending messages like a desperate loser. However, she comes out looking like an idiot when Yuan doesn't reply to her messages. In fact, the man is so fed up with her that he simply mutes her chat, remarking that she is way too witty. Since he cannot be too hasty with Xu Lele because she got scared earlier, he wonders if there is a more fun way to spend money on women. He then opens the Shark Live app on his phone, which is basically Twitch for thirsty degenerates. There he watches a famous girl, Xiaomir, who says she will go offline in 1 hour, so anyone who wants to send gifts to her should hurry up. While Xiaomir goes crazy over her beauty, Yuan realizes that he can spend 1 million on her in one go, which is much faster than buying bags. He enters the chat with the name Lonely Cigarette and sends his donation in the form of 100 rockets, which is equal to 1 million. Once the notification pops up, Xiaomir thanks him for the money, but she is extremely shocked when she actually sees how much he sent her. Everyone in Xiaomir's chat is surprised and wonder who is this person who is willing to spend so much on a Twitch. These Discord mods are not too happy to see that Yuan has taken all of Xiaomir's attention, but the man takes it as a challenge. With a nasty smirk on his face, he decides to give them a little more monetary shock. Yuan then sends 900 more rockets to Xiaomir, which covers the entire screen with the animations. Meanwhile, in the Shark Live headquarters, an employee informs their boss that something bonkers has happened, and an unidentified tycoon has spent $10 million on Xiaomir's channel. The boss is so shocked that he spills out his drink. He wonders if this guy is affiliated with their company, or if he's some random simp boy who is laundering money to woo the ladies. In the streamer's lounge, the other streamer girls learn that a user by the name of Lonely Cigarette has spent so much money on Xiaomir, and quickly send him private messages. They are of course doing it because if Yuan were to spend a tenth of what he spends on her, it would cover months of their salary. Soon after, Yuan's phone starts blowing up with notifications. In the meantime, Xiaomir is losing his mind over earning so much money out of the blue, and the producers of her stream show her a board asking him to secure Lonely Cigarette. Her commission has also increased by 10% for getting so much money for their company. Xiaomir lets her sassy persona take over a moment, and she wants to make sure Yuan doesn't go to any other streamer. To make sure he stays with her, she asks Yuan to give him a private message so she can give him a moderator role. After some time, she texts Yuan herself and asks if he is still there. She says she only has 5 minutes left to broadcast and begs him to reply. Unbeknownst to her, Yuan has put his phone aside and is sleeping like a little kitten. The next day, his generous donation becomes a hot news topic, and he is woken up by his roommates discussing it. One of them says he could buy a dozen houses with that much money in his hometown, and the other says he would laugh himself to sleep if he had the tenth of what this mysterious guy donated to Xiaomir. Later, while Yuan is brushing his teeth, he is frustrated to learn that he has still not bound a relationship with Xiaomir. He wonders if an in-person meeting is essential for binding and questions if he wasted all of that money last night. When he checks his Shark Live app, he is shocked to see that he has received a ton of messages from gold-digging streamers who would get on their knees for $1. Some of them are sending him private info, while others are asking him to meet in person. As he sweats about stirring up a hornet's nest, his roommates are in a hurry as they have to be somewhere. He asks them where they are going and why are they not taking him, only to learn that today is the general course class and the goddess Yuki is going to show up there. They want to go early so they can see her up close, and the reason they didn't ask Yuan is because he takes too much time to get ready. Yuki is a big thing among students. She is the vice president of the student union and is a dream for every degenerate on campus. She is a master at playing the piano, the chief of the ballet troupe, and a top-class athlete, and her outstanding talents, topped with unmatched beauty, make it difficult for anyone to approach her. Meanwhile, there is Yuan, all dressed up and handsome, ready to catch his next prey. The girls in his class are drolling over him, and his appearance is so much different than before that his classmates believe he is from another department. Yuan, on the other, is paying no attention as he has his eyes set on scoring Yuki. Shutong and her roommate are in the same class, wondering why Yuan has become so attractive all of a sudden. Her roommate wonders if Yuan dressed up all nicely just to impress Shutong, who is all shy now, and says her heart is confused about who to pursue. She starts gaining favorability points towards Yuan, but Yuan has no interest in her due to her gold-digger nature. As Yuan wonders how he can bond with Yuki, he hears a random guy cheering his boss up because he's about to approach Yuki. As this guy arrives at her table, he tells her to add him on WeChat. Before Yuki can even respond, her gatekeeping roommate interferes and asks him what he is doing. He confidently says he wants to be friends with Yuki, but the psycho roommate grabs him by the collar and threatens to pull a John Wick on him. The guy is so scared he starts sweating and says it was all a misunderstanding. He makes excuses that he wants to join the student union, and the only reason he approached is that Yuki is the president. However, the tomboy sees right through his bullshit and sends him packing. While Yuki is busy calming her down, Yuan approaches her and asks if they can be friends on WeChat. The tomboy is quite annoyed as another guy has shown up to steal Yuki, but the Yuki is moved because Yuan looks handsome. He confidently asks if it's okay to add her and shows her a QR code on his phone. Seeing this, the class starts gossiping about how Yuan is practically asking to be stepped on, and not in a nice way. The tomboy is also impressed by how handsome he is and asks if he wants to join the student union as well. Yuan politely says that he has no interest in the student union, and the girl asks why he wants Yuki's WeChat. With balls that make Jupiter look like a ping pong, Yuan says it's because he wants to pursue her. Everyone in the class is shocked to see him approach Yuki like that. However, Yuki can't stand his confidence and vows to make him miserable. With that, she agrees to add him on WeChat, and Shutong is frustrated because Yuan is into everyone but her. Yuan says the desire to be beautiful is inherent in everyone, so there is no point in hiding it. He also mentions how sometimes it's better to take the simplest approach because every woman likes to be pursued. Meanwhile, his classmates are shedding tears in the background upon realizing that their goddess is being snatched by this ugly loser. Yuan then gets a pop-up telling him that he has successfully initiated the licking dog relationship with Yuki. After class, Yuan's roommates surround him and praise him for getting Yuki's WeChat. They also mention how he has changed a lot in the past few days, but is still a licking dog to them. One of them asks Yuan to introduce them to some ladies once he scores Yuki, but Yuan says it's wishful thinking because he's just an ordinary guy. Just then, the wannabe boss man Lao Sai, who got rejected earlier, shows up with his dumbass duo and insults Yuan. While Yuan's roommates wonder if this guy is trying to start a fight, Yuan throws insults back his way. Laosi immediately loses his cool and rushes to attack Yuan, but his lackeys stop him from doing so. Yuan is way too cool to engage with losers like him and brushes him off as a man-child. Just then, Xu Lele shows up with her Gucci bag and reveals she has been waiting for him for a long time. The whole campus gathers around Yuan like they're about to play a Bollywood song because they can't believe that the ranked 6th on the beauty list of their campus is approaching Yuan. The man jokingly says he should die for making a beauty queen wait for him and asks her for dinner to make up for his mistake. She asks if this dress that she is wearing looks good on her, and it is one of the dresses he brought for her the other night. Yuan says that on top of her outfit, the bag she is carrying looks great too, and Showdown can't help but cuss herself because she wasted such a good opportunity to get a sugar daddy. As the two leave the campus hand in hand, Lao Sai is crying over the fact that he can't get any. However, he notices that someone else is crying more than him, and when he turns around to look, it is Showdown who cannot stand the humiliation she is facing. Later, Xu Lele says she has a gift for Yuan, which happens to be a sketch of him. She says she stayed up all night to draw it and won't forgive him if he casually throws it away like he does with money. Yuan is surprised as he has never received a gift from a girl before, but instead of being happy, a grim look appears on his face. He recalls everything Xu Lele has done for him so far and realizes that it is all a bait to lure him in. However, he is not the same virgin loser as before and won't fall for her tricks. Xu Lele gets nervous because Yuan doesn't seem too happy with the gift. When Yuan asks why he gave her this gift, she nervously asks if he doesn't like it. However, Yuan gets up close to her, making her all red, and says he expects better gifts than a piece of paper. Xu Lele realizes he is trying to mess with her and asks him to give the drawing back. However, Yuan playfully keeps it out of her reach and says he will keep it as a family heirloom. He then grabs her hand, making her even more nervous, and says he prefers her more compared to her gift. Xu Lele's panties are soaking wet at this point, and she realizes that Yuan is really good at rizzing her up, giving her a +5 on the favorability score. Yuan also realizes how much power he holds over Xu Lele, and while she wants him to become her pet, he wants to tease her so she can become a money-making tool for him. Just then, a guy separates the two and starts crying. Xu Lele told him she was going to get her nails done with her best friend, but he has caught her hanging out with Yuan. He assumes Yuan must be super rich as he caught the two hugging and complains how she doesn't even let him touch her hand even after months of persuasion. Yuan realizes this guy is being used the same way he was used before he got rich, stating that he is too familiar with this kind of temperament. Xu Lele angrily says he doesn't mean shit to her and her dating life has nothing to do with him. However, Yuan steps in and politely introduces himself. He asks the guy for his name and even asks how long he has been pursuing Xu Lele. The guy introduces himself as Yuan from the art school and reveals that he has been after Xu Lele for almost half a year. Yuan tells him that he was once like him and chased after a girl for 3 years. He worked 4 part-time jobs and ate steamed buns with pickled vegetables every day just so he could afford her. However, she chose to ride in someone else's car, which makes Yuan feel sorry for him. However, Yuan is now a changed man and says he used this betrayal to motivate himself so he could strive for improvement. He tells Yuan to not worry about not having a girlfriend. He should go back to his dorm, forget about Xu Lele, and work hard to become something. Once he becomes rich, Xu Lele will regret her choice. Hearing this, Yuan is moved to tears and promises to make a lot of money. Xu Lele worries that her gold-digging nature might be exposed and tries to explain to Yuan that Yuan is just a classmate. However, Yuan says he can't spare 2 cents on her past, but her actions reveal that she doesn't respect him or herself. Yuan then tears the drawing she made right in her face, much to her horror. He then says that they should not meet until Xu Lele takes care of her interpersonal relationships and walks out like a jigga Chad. However, it is all part of Yuan's plan to make Xu Lele chase after him. After he leaves, Xu Lele realizes that this is the first time she met someone who understands her. She thinks Yuan genuinely likes her and starts blaming herself for messing up this supposedly perfect relationship. Since she now realizes how much Yuan means to her, she has gained 5 favorability points toward her. Outside, Yuan has that evil smirk on her face because he knows Xu Lele is not too complacent, meaning he can tease her from time to time. Since he's taken care of Xu Lele, he decides to shift his focus on wooing Yuki. As he opens his phone, he is surprised to learn that Yuki is a streamer as well. Yuki goes by the name Kiki on the streaming app and introduces herself as a trainee for the company, who only has 2.5 days of streaming time for now. She says she's good at singing, dancing, and playing piano, and asks the viewers to support her. Yuan sees it on his phone and finds her unexpectedly cute, making him wonder if she only acts like a drive stands off when she's actually soft from the inside. He notices that only a small number of people are watching her right now, but before he can do anything about that, he gets another notification on his phone. When he opens the message, he sees a girl being creepy with him and asks who she is. She says she's Xiaomir, the same girl he donated 10 million won to. Yuan asks if she would like to meet in person, but Xiaomir says she can't because she works as a full-time Twitch. However, she decides to dance for Yuan to make up for it. Yuan, on the other hand, is sorta disgusted because he knows she is only trying to trick him into sending more gifts. He has already spent so much money on her, and all of it has gone to waste because he never received a binding confirmation, making him believe he would be better off spending it on Yuki. Just then, he gets a notification saying Xiaomir is competing with another streamer. On the other hand, Yuki is being challenged to a showdown, and her roommate is interested in seeing who is on the other side. After she accepts her challenge, Xiaomir is paired with Yuki, and Yuan's drive is off the charts as he gets to see who comes out on top. As the battle begins, Xiaomir starts getting all the donations, and even Yuki's own viewers donate to her, because she's packing bigger jugs than Yuki. Xiaomir is so confident in her looks that she thinks Yuan will vote for her too. When Yuan enters the chat, she specifically welcomes him and thanks him for supporting her. However, Xiaomir is shocked when she sees that Yuan gave away 1,000 rockets to Yuki. Yuki and her tomboy roommate cannot believe their luck, and Xiaomir is clearly frustrated as she is now losing the competition by a mile. The producer shows up in her room and shows her a sign that says the boss wants to see her right now and explain what happened. Xiaomir is left embarrassed, but she cannot show it as she has a lot of people watching her. She pretends everything is fine and ends the stream by saying that she has an important matter to attend to. After she leaves, her own viewers start making fun of her because she was so confidently claiming that Yuan was her patron when in fact he voted against her. Yuan has a big smug in his face because he knows he has embarrassed Xiaomir and thwarted her attempts to control him. On the other hand, he's invested a ton of money on Yuki and is hoping that she won't let him down. Meanwhile, an employee in Live Shark informs his boss that the Lonely Cigarette has done something crazy again. The boss is shocked to learn that he donated another 10 million on their platform and wonders if he's a prince from Dubai. Meanwhile, in the streamer's lounge, the Twitchers are shocked to learn that Yuan donated so much money to a girl who was playing piano, making them wonder if he is giving money to musical streamers. They then ask the assistant Xu Lele to grab their musical instruments so they can get donations from him. The news of his donation spreads fast, and Yuki's stream starts trending. Her roommate Fat is super excited as Yuki is going to become an internet sensation, but Yuki, on the other hand, is rigid because she does not like the idea of begging for attention from guys on the internet. She says the most important thing for a woman is to have a career, and women should be independent both financially and personally. V politely asks him not to give her a lecture and asks if she knows who is this guy showering her with gifts. Yuki gets upset and quickly responds that she does not know this guy, and Fat asks her to relax as she is just teasing her. However, despite her independent speech that should be playing on the 4th of July, she still thinks she owns this mysterious donator a thank you message. V thinks to herself how Yuki was saying all those words about not seeking men when she's doing the same right now. Just then, she hears Yuki lose it in the background and asks if she is okay. Yuki is sweating and reveals that she might actually know who donated her so much money. Turns out, when she opened Lonely Cigarette's profile, she could see his real name, which was Chen Yuan. Yuki starts making up a story about how Yuan is able to spend so much money on her. She believes Yuan is the son of a wealthy businessman and was raised in luxury from a young age. However, Yuan had a shy nature from birth and pretended to live as an ordinary person. Having received an elite education, Yuan got tired of being looked up to and just wanted to live freely. One day, he fell in love with a girl and decided to pursue her in his homeless attire. Despite Fee thinking this is the most Wattpad she has ever heard, Yuki is head over heels for Yuan, stating it must have been so hard for him to pretend to be ordinary for so long. Faye is annoyed at this point and asks her to hit the bed, but Yuki is hellbent on personally thanking him. Meanwhile, Yuan has just left the shower and receives a notification on his phone. The message is from Yuki, who asks him if he is free and invites him to have dinner with him. Yuan agrees and finds her rather amusing because she didn't even ask where the money came from and directly invited him to dinner. The next day, Yuan grabs a cheap motorbike and rides to pick Yuki up from the art campus. When he stops by the owner of a Mercedes, the old man asks him if he is looking for someone. Yuan asks him the same question, and the man replies that he's come here for his goddaughter. When Yuan notices that Yuki has been looking around for him everywhere, the old man interrupts him and says he needs to make a lot more money or beauty like her would be stolen from him by an uncle in a fancy car. Now Yuan may appear like an NY homeless to the rich uncle, but when Yuki spots him on the cheap motorbike, she sees a well-dressed man who's come to pick her up in a fancy ride. While the rich man keeps yapping about the importance of money, Yuki rushes toward Yuan and happily gets seated on his bike. Yuan then zooms past him with no care in the world, and the man is left crying on his knees, wondering what's the point of making so much money. On the way, Yuki is so engrossed in his Wattpad stories that he sees Yuan as a white knight from some romance novel. She is so in love with Yuan at this point that she doesn't even notice that they have arrived at the restaurant. Once their food is served, Yuan arranges the table like a true gentleman, and Yuki realizes that Yuan doesn't forget his manners even at a local restaurant, which just shows how noble he really is. Yuan then hands her wipes to clean her hands, but the way things are going, she might have to place a sponge between her legs. When Yuan begins eating like a casual, Yuki assumes he brought her to a local restaurant so she doesn't get overwhelmed by her wealth. Thinking Yuan cares so much about her emotions, Yuki is completely engrossed in her own stories. Her obsession with these love novels has reached a point where Yuan looks like Asian Aladdin to her. Just then, he gets a notification that he's gained plus 10 Riz points towards Yuki, and is surprised to see that she's head over heels for him without him having to do anything special. Just then, Yuki peels a shrimp for Yuan and asks if she can feed him with her own hands. Yuan is completely starstruck, and as he opens his mouth to stuff it with her fingers, a familiar face shows up in the background. It's Chutong with her boyfriend Wang, who is shocked to see that a goddess like Yuki is feeding a shrimp to a loser like Yuan. She's not too happy about it because she got outshined by Xu Lele first, and now it's Yuki. Despite her jealousy, she can't help but be impressed by how Yuan manages to score one chick after another, even when he looks like a cross between a wet mop and a deflated beach ball. She tells Wang that there are too many people here and asks if he could take her somewhere quiet. However, Wang doesn't care about how she feels and says he loves to dine in crowded places. As he forces Showdown to eat here, Wang approaches Yuan and orders him to get off his seat so he can use it for himself. He sprays a bunch of bills on their meal to make them go away, and Yuan wonders if this guy has the wrong impression that he looks cool by acting like a degenerate. However, Wang is a certified loser and keeps throwing more bills at them so they can move. Yuan notices that Yuki is fuming red and wonders why she is getting angry when he is the one getting provoked. Yuki, on the other hand, is furious because her perfect date with Prince Charming was disturbed by this ugly loser. Wang still hasn't read the room and keeps adding more money to the table, but Yuan knows how angry Yuki is, so he wants to help Wang find a table. However, Wang grabs Yuan by his collar and starts threatening him, while Yuan cowers like a sore loser. Just then, he gets smacked in the face by Yuki, who then quickly goes all cute when Yuan looks at her. Just then, a fatso bitch with literal mommy milkers shows up in the background. She is angry with Wang because he uses her money to buy clothes, drives in her car, and is now using her wallet to pick up girls. Yuan and Yuki quickly get out of the way, and Wang is terrified to see this woman show up here. He addresses her by the name Wei and asks what she is doing here. Wei is furious and says she would not have caught him cheating on her behind her back if she didn't come here. Wang immediately puts on a smile and says that this is all a misunderstanding as he can never cheat on her, especially since she is the one who pays for everything. He then immediately blames Showdown for seducing him and forcing him to go on a date with her. As he grabs her by the hair, Showdown mentions how he was the one who invited her and said he was single. Wang then gives her the housewife treatment and asks her to shut her mouth, and Showdown is on her knees wondering why she is being treated like a slave from the 1800s. Wang starts acting all high and mighty and asks her to keep her eyes down or he will give her another smack. However, Yuan grabs his hand and shames him for hitting a woman. Showdown is moved by this gesture and gains 20 favor points toward Yuan. Her eyes are filled with tears, and she starts believing that Yuan is in love with her. This gives her another large boost of favor points, so much so that she crosses the 95-point barrier. Now, instead of Yuan being a simp for Showdown, the roles have been reversed by the system. Since Yuan spent 50,000 on her, he is rewarded 5,000 won, which he can spend on himself however he wants. He also receives 20 points which he can use to upgrade his physical appearance. Yuan then looks at his own stats, which show him that strength, fitness, and agility are at level 9, while his mental strength and perception are at level 10. He uses 10 points on his strength stat and 10 points on his agility stat, making him significantly stronger. He uses his newfound power to bully Wang, but the man grabs a glass bottle and tries to smack it on his head. Yuan easily breaks the bottle with his fist and then punches Wang in the face, sending him flying. As Yuan looks down on a cowering Wang, he says there is nothing wrong with living off a woman, but hitting a woman makes him a filthy degenerate. Wang still hasn't learned his lesson and pulls out a knife from his pocket to harm Yuan. Yuki sees the knife in terror and asks Yuan to be careful, but before Wang can even swing the blade, Yuan disarms him with ease. Yuan then proceeds to slam him onto the floor and the sound of the impact is heard even outside the restaurant. Wang is completely knocked out from the slam, and a crowd gathers around appreciating how strong and handsome Yuan is. Yuan and Yuki then decide to leave the restaurant, but Showdown gets on her knees and begs him to give her another chance so they can start over. However, Yuan has a cold expression on his face. He remembers how he carried her on his back and ran 10 kilometers at 3 in the morning when she was unconscious. He even remembers how he saved money for 6 months to get her a phone but was rejected because he couldn't afford the latest model. He also mentions how despite Showdown being extremely self-centered and obsessed with herself, Yuan always hoped she would come back to him. However, with a cold-hearted tone, he says that Yuan no longer exists and leaves the restaurant, leaving her all wet in more ways than one. Later, Yuan drops Yuki off and apologizes to her for causing this mess which ruined their dinner. She asks him to address her formally and says he didn't ruin anything but rather excited her as she got to see a different side of him. As Yuan puts on an innocent smile and promises to treat her next time, Yuki's intrigue toward him keeps growing rapidly. With everything she has experienced alongside Yuan, she believes this man will bring a whole lot of excitement in her life, and she can't wait to use him for her own entertainment. Meanwhile, Showdown returns to her dorm completely soaked in her own tears, so much so that her roommate Rui assumes she is out in the rain. She asks her why she didn't get an umbrella, but Showdown is still crying and doesn't answer her question. Rui has no idea what happened to Showdown and tells him a rumor she has heard. She says Yuan has gifted 10 million won to Yuki on her livestream, and even though he looks ordinary, he is actually a rich kid. Showdown is shocked as this is the first time she's heard about it and asks for the source of this information. Rui tells her she's heard it from Yuki's roommate Fee, and everyone in the dorm knows about it. Upon hearing this, Showdown goes through all 7 stages of grief at once and starts crying like a hungry toddler. Meanwhile, a loud howl is heard in the boys' dorm, which comes from Yuan's room. Yuan is playing his favorite video game and outscoring all of his friends. His roommates are shocked as he's won 18 games in a row, and one of them asks him if he ate raw oysters to become this strong. The other guy wonders if Yuan is some kind of an esports genius who has been hiding his talent from him. This enhanced performance is the result of the 20 points Yuan put into strength and agility, and after the upgrade, even playing the game feels so much better to him. However, he plays it off to his roommates as simply being in good shape. He then decides to head to the shower, when one of his friends suggests becoming a live streamer and taking him along when he becomes a millionaire. Yuan brushes it off and heads to the shower, where he realizes that he is jacked as shit after putting stats into his appearance. His body has become much leaner, and he starts comparing himself to famous celebrities. As he daydreams about which lucky lady will get to experience his premium juice firsthand, his roommate informs him that his phone has been ringing for a while. When he checks his phone, he sees that he's getting a call from Xu Lele and wonders why she's calling him this late in the night. Remembering her manipulative nature, he starts assuming that this might be another tactic of hers. When he picks up the phone, he is a bit surprised to see that Xu Lele is crying and isn't sure what to do. While she is in her room, which is loaded with the stuff Yuan bought her, she hesitantly asks if Yuan can lend her 500,000 won. She reveals that dear old dad had a thing for gambling, and now he's in debt deeper than the Grand Canyon. It got so bad that their once prosperous family fell into a bottomless pit of high-interest loans. She says she is not a materialistic girl, but she has to pay this debt and cannot turn to anyone else. Yuan asks him to send her account number, and Xu Lele is shocked to see the funds flying in immediately. She opens her bank app and nearly faints at the sight of 5 million instead of 500,000. She is utterly speechless, and Yuan sheepishly admits he might have fat-fingered an extra zero in there. Xu Lele is so shocked that her favorability towards Yuan skyrockets. She thanks Yuan for relieving her stress and promises to pay him back someday. The system shows that she is currently sitting at 94 points, one shy of becoming a dog licker for Yuan. Meanwhile, Yuan is in his room frustrated that even paying her 5 million wasn't enough to win her over. He contemplates whether he should confess to her or not, but then realizes that this is kind of a war, and whoever confesses first is at a disadvantage. Eventually, he decides it's best not to make any hasty moments and lets fate run its course. The next day, as he is heading to class with his friends, Shutong shows up with a bag of steamed buns and asks him to go to the class with her. His roommates cannot believe she is trying to win him over again after breaking up with her, but she is not the only one who wants a piece of that rich boy. Turns out, Xu has brought him seafood porridge and wants to go to the class with him. This sparks a rivalry between the two ladies and they start giving death stares to each other. Just before things get too heated, another lady shows up at the scene, making them wonder who came this time. The third girl is obviously Yuki, who brought beef noodles for Yuan. Both Shutong and Xu Lele turn their attention toward her, and the school group has basically transformed into a fighting pit, with the winner taking Yuan home as a trophy. Both of them are intimidated by Yuki's presence, as she is ranked second on the campus beauty list. As Yuan is holding the bag, he is clearly surprised and asks her how she knew he liked beef noodles. Yuki says she saw Yuan eating crayfish yesterday and guessed that he likes spicy food. She happened to know a place that served authentic beef noodles, so she went ahead and got them for him. Yuan puts an innocent smile on his face and thanks him for paying so much attention to him, while on the inside, he wants to get freaky with her in bed. Since Yuki has brought him one of his favorite foods, she has managed to win the competition without uttering a word. She says one should keep in mind what the other person likes to eat before bringing them breakfast, which is a clear taunt towards Xu Lele and Yuan, who didn't care enough to do their research. She further says how no one would like the people who fail to think of such details, and both of them are furious to have been defeated by her so easily. This was basically a huge blow from Yuki, which has sent Xu Lele and Shutong flying in their own imaginary battle. Yuki then hands him a gift, and Yuan is shocked to see that she's gifted him an iPhone 15 Pro Max. While the two are in a battle to raise each other up, Yuan's roommates are freaking out in the background. Watching him unwrap that pricey gift is so painful that they'd rather auction off their own father. Shutong and Xu Lele are surprised because the phone is actually worth 10,000 won, and since neither of them can top this, Yuki has basically hit them with a knockout punch. Now they have to watch in jealousy while she steals their man away from them. As they walk away, Shutong is heartbroken as she cannot win Yuan over no matter how hard she tries. She is quite frustrated as Yuan has moved from one girl to another ever since they broke up. Just then, Xu Lele has a bright idea and asks her to come with her so they can talk somewhere discreet. Shutong is furious at her and says she has nothing to say to her as it is all her fault. However, Xu Lele waves her pride flag alongside a white one and asks if she would like to form an alliance with her. Shutong asks why she would feel the need to team up with her, and Xu Lele reveals her ploy to confront their common enemy Yuki. Inside the campus, Yuan realizes how generous Yuki really is as she gave him a phone that's worth more than his own existence. She notices the expression on Yuan's face and asks if there is something wrong with the phone, but the man smiles and says it's working perfectly fine. He then gets a pop-up that shows that Yuki has 40 favorability points toward him. With an evil smirk on his face, Yuan says that if it wasn't for the 40 points, he would assume she's fallen in love with him. He appreciates how clever Yuki is and states that she is a goddess with sophisticated methods, who's making her prey think it's the hunter. He realizes that this is an all-out war and states that he needs to figure out a way to progress the bond with her. Just then, he gets a notification on his phone and opens it to see another text from Siir. She recalls how Yuan asked for a meetup, but she turned him down. But now that she knows how rich this man really is, she says she refused because she is afraid of how people will perceive her in real life. Yuan realizes that this is her way of apologizing, but he isn't going to let it slide yet. Just then, he receives another notification from someone called the Dragon King. He says he's Siir's top-ranked anchor and asks if Yuan would like to be added into a group of degenerates who would sell their soul to buy her bathwater. Yuan is delighted as he recognizes it as the famous anchor group and accepts the invasion. Once the notification of his joining goes through, the anchors welcome him like he's some holy deity and Yuan gets along with them just fine. His rich status is very well known in the group, and one of the guys asks him if he would take care of a small business matter for him. Yuan realizes these guys are trying to test his ability to cope with difficulties and decides to play along with them. Yuan has a plan and asks the guy to add him in private chat. The guy is named Feng and says he has a villa he is planning to sell and asks if Yuan is interested. Yuan asks for the location of the villa, and Feng sends it to him. The place is actually a Riverview villa located in the Jiangku district, and Yuan is not too pleased with the offer as this district is a luxurious area, and the villa might cost him tens of millions. He does not have that kind of money to spend on himself, but he plays along with Feng and tells him he will look into it tomorrow. Meanwhile, in a mansion, a bald head is freaking out because he never expected Yuan to be actually interested in buying the villa. He figured Yuan was all smoke and mirrors, but now he sees the guy as Mr. Beast. Another well-dressed man is there too and comments that they will find out soon enough if Yuan is actually rich or not. Regardless of what happens, he says it's good to make friends who are willing to spend millions of won so casually. He then asks the bald man to send Yuan the address so they can find out more about him. The bald man then sends Yuan the address, and after looking at it, Yuan turns his attention to Yuki and wonders how many favorability points he will get if Gabe buys her a whole villa. Sometime later, Yuan takes Yuki to the location, and she asks him why he has brought her here so mysteriously. Yuan brushes his question off and notices that a bald man and a woman are waiting for him outside the mansion. The bald man recognizes him as Lonely Cigarette and welcomes him to the mansion. Yuan happily greets the man, but the baldie cannot understand why Yuan looks so ordinary despite his rich status. Having the beauty queen Yuki by his side gives him some credibility, making the man wonder if Yuan belongs to a hidden rich family. He then introduces himself in Hong and says he runs a small business. However, due to some financial problems, he wants to sell his villa. He then politely asks the power couple to come inside and take a look at the place. As they step inside, the man shows them the luxurious interior of the place and reveals that the villa is built in 500 squat meters. The total area of the land is 2,000 square meters. The decoration is designed by famous designers, and the whole house is customized with imported Italian furniture. The man then shows them a view of an entire city from the balcony and says that this place is so luxurious that he would turn it into his own memorial if he didn't have to sell it. Yuki is shocked as she realizes that Yuan is interested in buying this place, which must cost at least 10 million won. Yuan then asks the man to stop wasting his time as he already likes the place and asks the man to name his price. The man tries to play clever and thinks he will ask Yuan for a higher price of 50 million won, so it leaves him room to bargain. He also mentions how even though he is in need of money, there are a lot of people willing to buy this place from him. Ong then goes as high as 60 million won, and when he notices Yuan's reaction, he wonders if he overstated the price. However, when Yuan says he did not expect it to be so cheap, the man basically shits his pants. Hong regrets his choice now and realizes that he should have gone for a high price. Yuan then asks Yuki if they should buy this place, but Yuki is shocked because she cannot make this choice for him. She says she does not care if Yuan buys it or not, but Yuan gets up close to her and reveals that he is actually buying this place for her. Yuki is stunned in one place, stating that no matter how rich Yuan is, he should never spend this much money on anyone. Even for a plagiar like her, 60 million won is too much money. She starts thinking if this is some kind of a trick where Yuan locks her in the basement and recreates 50 Shades of Grey with her. The thought of being tortured stuns her in one place, and she goes into a panic mode. She starts sweating and says she cannot accept such an expensive gift from him. However, Yuan grabs her hand and says that the property restriction law has been implemented recently. He already owns too many properties, so he cannot buy this one in his own name. This is why he wants to give it to her. He says he doesn't only want to give her a house, but rather make a home with her. For a girl who lives in her own Wattpad fantasy, this is like a dream come true for her. She knows that this kind of property transfer is typically meant for married couples and starts wondering if Yuan sees her as a potential wife. Yuan then tells her that it should not matter what their relationship is. Whatever he owns is also hers without any distinction. Yuki is so shy at this point that she cannot even look Yuan directly in the eye, and the favor points go up by a lot. As Yuki's favorability toward Yuan reaches a whopping 90 points, Yuan is super arrogant about how much his acting skills have improved and says that the film industry should give him an Oscar already. Meanwhile, Hong's assistant taps in on the shoulder and asks if he will even be this generous with her. Even though Hong puts on an innocent smile, he is crying from the inside as he could never afford to give away such gifts. Later, Yuan scans his card in the machine and asks if it's okay if he only deposits 10 million won for now. He promises to transfer the remaining amount once the formalities and the property transfer are complete. Hong tells him not to worry about anything and says he will take care of the papers in the next few days. With that, the two of them leave the villa in a taxi. Hong is so impressed by this move, stating that despite being a millionaire, Yuan opts for a taxi because he likes to be low-key. Hong's assignment is moved by how young he really is and wonders if he is in need of a secretary. Yuan, on the other hand, is thrilled because Yuki is so close to becoming his dog licker. This means that he will get 10% of the 60 million won for the mansion, plus the 10 million he spent on the live stream for her. In addition to the 7 million, he will also receive attribute points which he can use to enhance his appearance. Meanwhile, Yuki is still daydreaming about being a Wattpad main lead, and since Yuan has made such a big gesture to her just now, she wonders when he will propose to her. She starts dreaming about him putting a ring on her finger, and wonders if they would marry in Milan or the Alps. She even dreams about having a baby with him and wonders what they will name their child. The woman is such a psycho that she even romanticizes Yuan getting dementia when he is old so she can remind him how much she loves him every day. Just then, her illusion is broken as the taxi driver says they've arrived at their destination. As she exits the car, Yuan stays inside, making her wonder why he isn't coming out. Yuan, on the other hand, tells her that his roommate has invited him to an internet cafe to play games, so she should go ahead without him. As he drives off in the distance, Yuki is left surprised as she is expecting a ring on her finger by now. After some time, Yuan arrives at the internet cafe and his roommates are a little annoyed because he is late. They asked why he took so long and they've already lost some games because he wasn't here on time. However, they've still saved a seat of Yuan and sent him to buy some cards. He walks to the counter while looking at his phone and asks the lady to give him a card, 4 packs of cigarettes, and 4 bottles of iced black tea. When the lady says his name, he looks up to see that it is actually Xu Lele and asks her what she is doing here. Xu Lele explains that her father runs a chain of internet cafes, and this one specifically is owned by him. She says it was made possible thanks to the money he sent her that night, and because of this new business, they were able to pay off all the debts. As a thank you, she buys him a drink and even gives him a lifetime membership of the cafe with unlimited computer usage. Just then, Yuan notices some chaos in the background, and a tall thug with a baseball bat shows up to threaten Xu Lele. He says her father still hasn't paid them the money he owns and questions when he will get that money. Xu Lele asks them to get their moving because she paid them 5 million won last time, but the man says that was the upfront money and she still needs to clear the 15 million won interest. Xu Lele argues that this is a complete robbery from their end, but the man starts harassing her. He grabs her hand and says she will come with him if she is unable to pay the money today. With her looks, she can become the star in his nightclub and work there for 2 to 3 years to cover the remaining debt. However, Yuan shows up as a Tier 3 simp and twists the man's arm, stating that he should leave before he gets angry. Xu Lele is all sunshine and rainbow as her white knight has arrived to rescue her. The thug, on the other hand, wants to put Yuan to the ground for meddling in his affairs. He asks his gang to attack Yuan, and as they approach him with knives, he starts beating out of them. His roommates recognize his fighting style, which is inspired by the character in the game they were about to play. The move he is using is the Blind Monk's Cyclone Kick, and his friends are extremely shocked as Yuan has brought his skills in the game to real life. The gangsters get their ass kicked so hard that they walk side to side outside the cafe, vowing to come back for revenge against Yuan. After they leave, Xu Lele comes running toward Yuan and gives him a big hug, thanking him for saving her again. Just then, Yuan gets a notification that Xu Lele has reached 95 favorability points, and the counterattack is now successful. Yuan had spent 5.3 million won on Xu Lele, which give him 5,300 won for personal use. Xu Lele is now transformed into Yuan's licking dog, which grants him 5 additional attribute points. As Xu Lele continues to embrace Yuan, Shutong and Ru conveniently show up at the cafe. Shutong is furious because Xu Lele had formed an alliance with her and thinks Xu Lele went behind her back to get into Yuan's pants. As they two start fighting like with rabies, Yuan asks the system to put all the points into strength and agility. Their fight gets so heated that they completely forget about Yuan, and his roommates have to step in to separate the two. The next day, a race is about to happen on the school playgrounds and Yuan is walking on the tracks. He's thinking to himself he has successfully wooed Shutong and Xu Lele, and it is only a matter of time before he makes Yuki his doglicker. However, this will exhaust his binding list, and he has to rizz up new chicks before he finishes it with Yuki. Just then, someone taps on his shoulder and asks him to move to the side. As he turns around, he sees a beautiful girl who tells him to avoid walking in this area because it has been allocated to the sports club for a short distance race. Yuan is immediately drawn toward this girl, who may appear fierce on the surface but is a straightforward and genuine person. Yuan sees her as a potential candidate and holds up his phone so she can add him on WeChat. However, he hears a voice in the distance asking him to stop right in his tracks. A Connie lookalike shows up to gatekeep the girl, stating that he is her boyfriend and that Yuan should get out of here ASAP. Yuan is curious as he realizes he has seen this person before. He is taken into a past memory where he was beaten up by this exact guy for pursuing a girl he liked. This man, named Liang, pinned Yuan down and punched him several times in the face. Following that, he continued to bully him for a few days and even stepped on his face to humiliate him. The man is still the same jerk he used to be back in the day and asks Yuan to stop dreaming as he will never score someone like her. However, Yuan is even more interested in that girl than before because it also gives him a chance to humiliate his bully. Thus, the dog-licking operation begins and Yuan gets a screen showing basic info about the girl. Her name is Zhang. She is 19 years old, 169 centimeters, and 50 kilograms. Her appearance is rated 8.2, and her current favorability toward Yuan is -5. As Zhang leaves with her current boyfriend, Yuan gets the usual notification of getting back 10% of the money he spends on her. However, what really piques his interest is that he will get 22 attributes points once he scores her. Meanwhile, the race is about to begin, and Liang is the favorite to win. Zhang is cheering him on in the crowd, but one of the guys notices that someone is squatting outside the track. This is, of course, none other than Yuan himself. As the flare gun is shot, the contestants begin sprinting on the tracks, and from what it seems, Liang is winning the race by a mile. As he confidently sprints ahead of everyone else in the competition, some fast footsteps are closing in on him. Just then, someone sprints past him at lightning speeds, and the man is shocked because he didn't know Flash was in the competition too. This Flash is obviously Yuan, who is much faster than him because of the attribute points. Yuan now wants to win the race so can steal Zhang from this ugly loser. Yuan's aiming to dethrone Liang in his own kingdom, but Liang isn't gonna back down so easily. He activates his secret technique to shrink the distance and confidently claims to show Yuan what it means to be an emperor. However, when he looks back up, he realizes that Yuan has completely disappeared. Just then, Yuan emerges from behind him at full speed, which stuns him for a moment. Liang sees that while he was busy running his mouth, Yuan was running laps and is a mile ahead. Yuan comments that a mere decade of hardcore training can't compete with his meticulous point distribution done in a week. Meanwhile, the crowd goes wild as they finally see a new face who has dethroned the former champion so easily, and even the commentator starts hyping Yuan up. Yuan then confidently crosses the finish line, and Zhang is shocked as she cannot believe her boyfriend lost to this new guy. Yuan becomes a star among the crowd, and the commentator declares him a new champion who has bested all of the previous records. However, he says they know nothing about him as he is not even an official competitor. Just then, the coach shows up praising Yuan for his extraordinary skills and recommends that he join the national team. Liang starts whining as this spot was actually reserved for him, and as Yuan walks past, shying like a cold-hearted, she starts feeling a little attracted to him. Her favorability points go up by 5, and with that, Yuan's mission to woo her officially begins. Liang asks her if she's alright because she seems to be focused on something else, but she brushes it off and says she's just a little worried about him. However, as Yuan continues to walk away from her, she starts gaining even more points toward him. Meanwhile, Yuki enters her dorm and asks her where she has been. She brushes her question off and informs her that Yuan has brought her a house. Fat is absolutely shocked to hear the news, and Yuki says she is going to see the house with him today. She then reveals that Yuan bought that house for 60 million won and asks if she can help her check the prices of properties in the Jiangku district. She suspects the fat guy is selling the house at a much higher price and wants to double-check because Yuan told him whatever is his is also hers. Fat is frustrated at this point and wonders what one has to do to get such luck with men. For starters, maybe stop looking like a boy. She then opens her phone to check the prices but sees something else that stuns her. Turns out, someone has made a blog post about Yuan, accusing him of being a s*** who's dating multiple girls at once. Both Fi and Yuki are shocked to see the post as it can ruin Yuan's reputation. Meanwhile, Yuan's roommate shows him the same post, and Yuan himself is getting nervous about it. He realizes that he has been very high profile and careless lately, and must have ticked someone off. However, he had no idea who it could be. Elsewhere, 3 dimwits are fumbling with the post and are shocked to see that it went viral. Just then, Liang walks into the room and asks them what they are doing. The idiots are actually his roommates, who got scared because Liang sneaked up on them. They reveal they have caught a bugfish named Yuan, who has been acting very arrogant recently. Liang sees the post and realizes Yuan is the jerk who smoked him in the race. Upon seeing his name, Liang recognizes that this is the same guy he beat up years ago. He reveals he and Yuan went to the same high school, and Yuan has been a creep ever since he's known him. Liang also has a lot of inside information on Yuan, which he wants them to put in their post. As the 3 of them gather around Liang, they ask him to take a seat and say everything slowly so they can make points and put them in their post. Liang knows he's already lost the race in his spot on the national team, so this is the perfect opportunity for him to ruin Yuan's life. Some time later, the post is updated and Yuan is now known as the guy who views women as his personal knickknacks. The post also warns all students to stay clear of him. On top of that, it mentions that Yuan had forced many girls to be in a relationship with him, and those women had to reluctantly bear his advances. Yuan also had a reputation as a 3-headed dog in high school, who pursued no less than 100 women even when those women were already committed to their boyfriends. Because of his dog licking, everyone was affected negatively, which dropped their grades by 10 points compared to the previous year. This post becomes viral among the entire campus, and Yuan's reputation takes a solid hit. Even the principal cannot ignore the accusations and promises to personally investigate this matter. If Yuan is to be found guilty of these charges, he will be expelled immediately. The next day, Yuki is interviewed about what kind of a man Yuan is, and she says he is a very special person from the liberal arts. She presents him as a prodigy who comes from a very rich family, yet is generous and willing to help others. Instead of showing off, Yuan uses his wealth to alleviate the worries of helpless people. In her version, Yuan is a bootleg Batman, whacking the Joker nightly and ensuring the women are safe. Whenever the night falls, Yuan turns into a dark knight and punishes evil with his heavy fist. Yuan is a powerful legend who is the guardian of this city full of despite and sin. She closes by saying that Yuan is a hero in her eyes, but the officers taking her testimony aren't too convinced about his heroic nature and ask what proof she has of coming to such a conclusion. All Yuki can come up with is that she's based this conclusion on her women's intuition. The principal asks his assistant if he can trust Yuki's words, and the man points out that, despite her current idiocy, she's the student council president and isn't into making stuff up. He believes Yuan is actually a good person, but the principal isn't convinced yet and asks them to conduct more interviews. Later, the guards approach Shutong on the school grounds and ask her to accompany them because they have an interview to conduct. As Shutong takes the seat in the inspection room, she starts to tear up, saying Yuan is a golden ticket and she's just a regular candy bar. She says she is greedy for vanity, and even when she works day and night to win him over, Yuan does not choose her, but despite that, he is a good person. She starts crying uncontrollably and asks for more tissues, stating that her heart aches when she thinks of him. The guard is surprised because on one side she's saying he rejected her, while on the other she is defending him. Shutong says she deserves to be pumped and dumped by Yuan, but Yuan's awesomeness remains intact. The principal is watching this from the observation room and goes speechless. Moments later, he exits the room and heads to the balcony to smoke. While there, he contemplates if he made a mistake because from what he has heard, Yuan is competing with God for divinity. Just then, he notices someone outside from the window holding a banner and decides to check what it is about. He heads outside to meet Xu Lele and her father and introduces himself as the president of Human University. He asks them what they are looking for, and Xu Lele says she is from the art department and has created a banner in support of Yuan. The banner reads, "Yuan acted bravely a few days ago and helped our family a lot." The principal is shocked to see that, as opposed to what he believed, Yuan has done God's work around the campus. After Xu Lele and her father leave, the principal starts wondering if he jumped to conclusions too fast and decides to look at the post again. His whole concern is that Yuan might make the environment unsafe for women. But when he opens the post again, he sees that several girls from his university have commented in favor of Yuan. Some of them are madly in love with him, while others are impressed by his accomplishments and believe that the original post was made out of jealousy. The principal's getting a taste of his own homework, realizing that Yuan is actually more famous on the campus than him. He has a realization that Yuan's a god pulling a Clark Kent, too good to live among humans. This is why he is constantly rejected by others and becomes a target of harassment from those who are jealous of him. The principal is moved to tears as he believes Yuan has suffered the same weight he has. He cannot stand and watch Yuan become a target on his campus and promise to give Yuan the justice he deserves. The next day, he arranges an assembly with the whole campus and discusses the post that was made to slander Yuan. However, through thorough investigation, all the rumors have been proven false, and Yuan is brought on stage to clear his name. While Yuan's squirming like he's sitting on a cactus, the principal starts crying in front of the whole campus while explaining all the good deeds Yuan has done in secret. He then asks his fellow students to follow Yuan's example and become a person who spread positivity in the world. While the whole crowd cheers for the guy, the principal makes him a certified G, and Yuan is sweating like a snowman in Hue. In the crowd is a jealous Liang, who had done his best to ruin Yuan's life, but accidentally ended up making him the hero of this university. His jealousy is turned into fury, and he claims that he is the one who should be on stage receiving flowers and applause. He then notices that his own girlfriend Zhang is applauding Yuan and calling him a handsome fella. Yuan then gets a pop-up on his screen which shows him that Zhang is gaining favorability points toward him. That is it for this video. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel for similar content. And as always, thanks for watching.